All right. Welcome, good people. Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, and we're going to get into it here in just a moment, man. We don't really have too much to talk about, man, just because, we did definitely already go into this last night. With it being a Monday night game, there's not as much to get into. So tonight I would definitely, allow the opportunity for you guys, to have more of a voice. If you guys want to call in tonight, I definitely look forward to taking calls. But, this doesn't really necessarily have to be a long show. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep our normal routine. We will allow up to an hour. Whether it gets to that long or not, we shall see. But not a whole lot to get into. We could talk a little bit more about the game. But again, we did cover that last night. And with it being a Monday night game, these two shows are running, together. For you guys that are unfamiliar, I did a post-game show last night, which I do following the game. And then I normally do Terrible Towel Tuesday on Tuesdays, which typically what we like to do is take a look at the footage. But unfortunately, with the game being just last night, the All-22 for the Steelers game is not available yet. So that kind of cuts a huge chunk out of this particular show. But either way, I'm sure we'll have a good time, man. We always do when we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's have at it. So let's take a look and see who's already up in here. Shout outs to Y Diggy, Steve Williams, Gold Drip, J Will, Tristan Cooper, Smitty, Jason Winningham, Lee Sharp, my father-in-law Leonard Kenyon, and Michael Garman. So it looks like that's all we have as of now. And we'll go ahead and have at it, man. So what I'm doing really quick, guys, is just double checking something here on my phone to make sure that the audio is correct. And we should be okay in terms of the phone queue. If you guys want to call in tonight, phone number is right there posted right on the screen. But in case you can't see it, it is area code 619-924-0818. And there you have it. So where do you guys want to begin, man? Since, some of you early birds that are in here, let me holler at you guys first. What do you guys, where you want to begin? Anything in particular you want me to address before I go into my little spiel? Let me know. Nothing really. Okay. Well, like it says in the title, guys, we are currently back in the race. We did need to get that win. We did. And we'll see where that takes us, man. Let me look over here really quick, man, and see what you guys are talking about. All right, you guys want me to talk about Joe Hayden. Okay, I'll definitely do that. An update on Connor. No real update on Connor. As far as the injuries, let's definitely address that really quick, man. I do have a few pieces of information here. No updates, but in case you guys missed it from the game, currently James Conner is dealing with a shoulder injury. An AC joint sprain, I believe is what they're calling it. He's going to be limited, obviously, this week is what Mike Tomlin said. Of course, what Tomlin always says, we will allow his participation to be the guide on whether or not he gets a chance to play. Snell has a knee injury. We haven't heard anything up to date on that yet. At least I haven't. Pouncey went down with a calf. Ramon Foster is in the concussion protocol. And Jalen Samuels. Mike Tomlin made it very clear that Jalen Samuels had an opportunity to play last week, not last night, but last week against the Chargers. Well, actually, maybe he was referring to last night. Maybe he was, now that I think about it. But either way, he said that Jalen Samuels had an opportunity. He was available. And yeah, it must have been for last night's game. They decided to hold him out. But he gave all signs as to pointing towards him being available against the Colts. So you're looking at a situation where it's more likely going to be Jalen Samuels, Trey Edmonds, as well as maybe James Conner would be on a limited basis, a limited backup, if you will, having to play only in an emergency situation. Maybe Benny Snell is not going to be the guy that's going to be available to play. Again, we don't know the extent of his injury. It just kind of seems like that, if you read the tea leaves from what Mike Tomlin was saying, that's what it kind of sounds like. Maybe that's going to be the situation. So let's talk about Joe Hayden, man. And I don't know. I don't know. Joe Hayden is definitely not what he needs to be. But again, I'm not going to overly, react to this situation as far as Joe Hayden, guys. You have to remember he is older, and we did say this. We said this would be the case. We said Joe Hayden is not a top-tier cornerback anymore. He's a serviceable cornerback, okay? He does okay. And it wasn't that he was getting torched. He was getting picked on. He wasn't completely out of position, but, he wasn't able to keep up with this guy doing what he does best in terms of being a man corner. He's not that guy anymore. Joe Hayden is probably going to be your number 2 cornerback, right? Clearly, Steven Nelson has taken the number 1 position, but we definitely have to talk about that, man. It makes it interesting because if Joe Hayden is looking the way Joe Hayden is looking, now we're talking about going into next season, who is going to be that guy playing opposite of Nelson? Will Justin Lane get any opportunity? How much will he improve, while he's on the practice squad and going into the next season in the off season? Will the Steelers have to go into or possibly looking into the opportunity of, looking for someone else on the outside as an outside corner? They said that Cam Sutton has got a lot of time on the outside and the inside. Will he eventually be a guy that will be looking to replace Joe Hayden? And again, I'm not ready to throw Joe Hayden in the trash. For the most part, Joe Hayden hasn't cost us a game. If I remember correctly, every cornerback is going to get some passes thrown at him and things of that nature. That's just the nature of the business. When you're on that island, sometimes people are going to visit your island. That's just how it works. But we have to acknowledge the fact that that he played extremely bad, but we have to acknowledge the fact that it definitely looked like he is the guy that people are looking to pick on. Clearly looked like that last night, so that's not a good thing. Now the next thing. Got to talk about Roosevelt Nix. Man, did he or did he not? Now, come on. Did he not make a difference? And you could argue whether or not he made a huge difference down the stretch. The run game was clicking, but clearly, we saw early on in that game the effect that Rosie Nix had on the run game. Just think about the first run that James Conner broke out for about 25 yards or so. Straight ISO, straight up the middle, lead block. And Rosie Nix meets his guy in the hole and clears the way. This dude is an animal, man, and it's funny because in today's football, the fullback is not necessarily, cherished the way they once were. They're not necessarily used the way they once were back in the day. But Rosie Nix clearly makes a difference. He makes a difference on special teams. I just love guys like that turn out to just be raw football players, pure football players. Love it. And clearly he gave us a nice spark last night. So definitely want to, shout out Rosie Nix. Got to shout out, again, guys like Minkah Fitzpatrick, that I saw today, and I didn't even realize this, the first NFL player to get multiple interceptions when facing a team that he once played for in the same season. So that's a nice little feat right there. Steelers keeping their streak going in terms of Monday Night Football games at home, and the color rush, seeming to be the jersey or the uniform that gives them a little more mojo. They need to wear that every week if that's the case. You need to wear it again. Even though it ain't a primetime game, wear it again on Sunday against the Colts. Because we're now in a situation where, if the Steelers can get to 500, all bets are on. Me personally, I still don't believe in the team in that regard, because there's a couple things that I will address here in a minute, kind of rehashing what I talked about last night. But I still don't believe in the team in terms of, thinking that we're really going to be, that type of team, if that makes sense. Are we really going to be a playoff team? And if we got there, can we really, contend? Can we get out of the first round or get past the wild card or whatever the situation would be? I don't know. Because again, after just, allowing my raw emotions to, to kind of get out of the way and allow me to really digest what I saw. And didn't get a chance to look over the game again. I'll probably do that tonight, but I might even wait until tomorrow until I get my hands on the all 22. But there's a lot of plays I want to break down and take a look at. But looking at it from that standpoint, man, it's kind of like, got to pump the brakes. You can be excited by what this team appears to be able to be at some point, but there's no reason to, in my opinion, to think that we're going to do anything this year, if that makes sense. Now, stranger things have happened. Yes. Okay. The team could turn the corner and Mason Rudolph could become the man out there and et cetera, but I would temper those expectations a bit because it's still a little shaky. Primarily, what kind of gives me, reason to pause a little bit is I like the fact that we took a lot of shots down the field. We've all been asking for that. We've all been saying, open it up, allow him to pass, Randy, take the training wheels off and all of that. But I just don't like the way some of those balls looked. And again, it's one game. Okay, it's one game. He had some spouts, some spurts there where his footwork was off and mechanics seemed to be off and decision making was a bit off. And he did regroup. He definitely did regroup and he got his bearings back in order. And there you have it. But you still have to, look at that situation like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say. I just haven't seen enough yet. Now, let me also attack the other narrative. Let me attack this narrative where everyone is saying, not everyone, but, those people who are really not Mason Rudolph fans, which, listen, you don't have to be. But the narrative now, after seeing what happened last night, the whole totality of the game, not just the first half, but after seeing the total game, I'm still kind of confused as to why so many people are still campaigning for Duck Hodges. And I'm not challenging Duck Hodges' skills. I'm not challenging Mason Rudolph's skills. I'm not even comparing these guys apples to apples. I'm merely looking at it from what we have seen on display thus far. Even if you are a Duck Hodges fan, we didn't see enough of him, in my opinion. We didn't see enough of Duck Hodges in the Chargers game to make you feel as if he needs to be playing more so than Mason Rudolph. I just don't believe that to be true. Now, again, like I said, my job here is to give you guys my opinion. It is not my job to argue anyone else's opinion or debate anyone else's opinion. I'm not in the business of doing that. And, I'm even going to fall back a little bit even from, entertaining some of the comments. Listen, I want everyone to have a voice. I want everyone to have an opinion, right? But I'm going to give you, who I am on the show, if that makes sense. You're gonna be able to learn to expect, okay, this is what Sim is probably going to say. This is how he feels. And that's just going to be my approach. And I'm just going to say it, to you how I see it. And honestly, I think you guys enjoy that. That's the reason why you come through, right? So, again, I try to look at things from a realistic standpoint. I haven't seen enough from Devlin Hodges at this stage for me to feel as if he needs to play over Mason Rudolph. I'm sorry. Mason Rudolph did exactly what I wanted him to do last night. I wanted to see how he reacts in a situation where we're going to prioritize passing. Looked bad at first. Showed his resilience. And remember, I've been consistent in my stance with Mason Rudolph. I said from preseason, the dude looks more confident. The dude's poised. I like this in a quarterback. Doesn't seem shook. It doesn't seem like the deer in headlights. The moment doesn't seem too big for him. He continues to show me that. And again, in the first half, I started looking at him like, whoa, what's going on, man? Let me see how you bounce back from this. And he did. And I think what Mason Rudolph is going to have to work on, man, because clearly I think, right, just my opinion, and I don't know if it was the result of playing the Dolphins or not, but this is how I feel about it. It seems as if right now we're going to allow him to just run the offense, be pass and run, balanced type of offense, allow him to quarterback. And if we're going to go that route, he's going to have to work on his accuracy, because the accuracy was a little awry last night. And that's what makes me nervous as we continue down this path. Like I said, even if we went on some type of win streak, found our way in the playoffs, when you start playing those real competitive teams, you're not going to be able to afford to make those type of mistakes. And we're about to face one here on Sunday. Whether some people believe it or not, we got a real test coming up in the Colts. Very solid team. I've watched a little bit of them. I haven't really studied them to know where they're weak at. But we playing a very formidable opponent in the Indianapolis Colts. Jacoby Brissett has turned out to be a very solid quarterback. Marlon Mack, like Tony was talking last night, we still, I wouldn't say that we're on top of the run game yet. I still want to face a very, a decent team that can run the ball to see how we fare. Another reason why even when we play Cleveland, I'm not necessarily, confident about that game, because a guy like Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb will make you pay for your mistakes. And even Nick Chubb has made some mistakes of his own putting the ball on the ground, but that dude will make you pay in a hurry if you make a mistake. You're not in your lane, you're not tackling sound, you're not playing gap integrity. So like I said, that's the first thing we need to look at, is how we face those guys. Because listen, the Colts, Quentin Nelson, yeah, that offensive line across the board, they're pretty good. So this is going to be quite the challenge for the Steelers, and I think it's a winnable game possibly, but we cannot make the same mistakes. Like I said last night, we cannot. They will be able to make us pay for it more so than the Dolphins did, and the Dolphins made us pay for it twice with turnovers. So that's kind of how I feel about it, man, and I didn't even mean to go off on that tangent really quick, and I just did. So like I told you guys, even when I feel like there's not a lot to talk about, when we start talking about the Steelers, things just start rolling, and there you have it. So like I said, guys, we don't have the All-22 tonight, so it's not really anything to get into in terms of the footage. So, the show is wide open. I will stay here for however long, I feel like we still got something to talk about. If it is a short show tonight, I'm cool with that. We will allow up to an hour. If you guys want to call in again, for you guys that may have just come in, area code 619-924-0818. If you want to share your thoughts, I'll give you a minute or so. Get whatever you got off your chest. And there you have it. So right now, let me see. Is there anything else that I want to address about this team at the moment? I wonder what we're going to do with Dante Moncrief, man. I wonder. If I'm not mistaken, we have to release him by the 10th. Week 10. We have to release him by week 10 in order for us to get a compensatory pick or something like that. So I wonder if we're going to lean that direction or not. I kind of feel like, why not? And it's no disrespect to Dante Moncrief, but you got to look at it like this. I feel like the Steelers, the same reason why I feel like Mark Barron's last year might be this year as well. I look at Mark Barron and I look at Dante Moncrief as what if guys, security blanket type of guys. Meaning, when the Steelers made those moves in free agency, they went out and found a guy that they felt like could be around for a while at the cornerback position. And it looks like it's turned out to be a good decision, and he's probably going to be around, might play out his contract, talking about Steven Nelson. But the other two positions were positions of need, but they went a little safer. They didn't spend as much money in those areas, and you could argue cap space has something to do with that. Availability as far as who else was out there may have had something to do with that. But just looking at the guys that they did sign, clearly you can see that these are not guys that they were hoping that would stick. These are just guys that just in case type of guys. If we can't address this particular position in the draft, then at least we have somebody that we can plug the hole with. You look at Dante Moncrief. All right, they go after Deontay Johnson. Again, I continue to say this. Deontay Johnson plays very similar to how Antonio Brown played for us as far as how he plays. He is not Antonio Brown, but he had Antonio Brown-like qualities with his route running, his twitchiness, quickness, and things of that nature, right? And he is a natural X receiver. He also can play in the slot. But just in case you don't get your guy in the draft, let's get a veteran and a Dante Moncrief who also can play X, primarily plays out there, and he can actually play all three spots. He's done it in his career. He's played inside as well. So again, security blanket. And maybe if Dante Moncrief had contributed a little more early in the year and didn't have the drop situation, maybe we're talking about him being on the field more so than Deontay Johnson. Maybe they would be waiting to bring Deontay Johnson along. Y'all know that's how they like to do it. Think about Martavis Bryant. We talked about Bryant last night, the physical specimen that he was. Think about how the Steelers like to bring guys along. You know what I'm saying? Like, Martavis Bryant didn't play until about week 9, week 10 of his rookie season. So you would assume that's probably how they were going to try to do Deontay Johnson had Moncrief worked out. But seeing that Deontay Johnson is now peaking, well, I won't say peaking, but he's starting to trend up. He's starting to get his footing together and, get a feel for it. Still young and still rough around the edges, but you would assume that going into next season, he's definitely going to be the guy. The number 2 or the number 3, whatever. But again, Steelers like to run a lot of 11 personnel, so you pretty much have 3 starting receivers when you're in that situation. So that means Moncrief will be out the door. And just like Kenyon said last night, they're going to probably draft another receiver at some point in the draft, right? Then you look at Mark Barron, and I don't really have to spend a lot of time there. Clearly, again, another person who can just plug a hole if necessary. But seeing as how aggressive we were in the draft, going all the way up to get Devin Bush already looks like a good payoff. He's only going to get better, you would assume. Some things he still has to tighten up, but he's only going to get better. And there you have it. You still got Vince Williams there, and they'll probably may draft another guy late. But you would assume a guy like UG3, Ulysses Gilbert, would be the guy that would be the third man in rotation. And not sure what's going to happen with Dirty Red after this year. Dirty Red could be a guy that you just bring back on the cheap because, I don't think his market is going to be high. You bring him back for special teams needs, and there you have it. Which means we're not going to utilize Mark Barron. So that's just how I feel about that, man. And again, another tangent that I found right there that I went off really quick. So we do have a few phone calls real quick, man. Let's go ahead and grab them. We got 3 in the queue right now. You guys know the routine, man. Try to be as quick as you can, man. Don't make me have to cut you off. Don't want to do that. So in and out, make your point, state your business, so we can move on. First call in the queue, area code 814. What you got for us tonight? Hello, 814. All right, we're going to mute this for a second. Guys who are in the queue, let me say this really quick. 814-973 and 830. Do me a favor. If you are also simultaneously watching the chat, leave me a message in the chat and let me know that you are actually hearing me on the phone. Y'all know how sometimes Blog Talk Radio is not working properly. It worked great last night. Well, let's just confirm that it's working really quick because I don't know if we had a delay right there. 814 didn't seem to hear me. Well, for any of you guys who are in the queue, I see 803 is in the queue as well. If you could just let me know really quick in the chat, please confirm that you're able to actually hear me through the phone piece. Not through the stream, but through the actual phone. They can't hear me. Nope. I tell you, man, I don't understand what's going on with Blog Talk Radio. Don't understand it. Y'all saw it worked properly last night, right? All right, so here we are, guys. We're going to have to do the workaround. Most of you guys are kind of familiar with that now, unfortunately. So the workaround will be, since you cannot hear me through the phone, you can still hear me through the stream. What I will do is I will unmute you. When you hear unmute, start talking. We can all hear you. You're just unable to hear me for whatever reason in the phone. All right? So I'm going to say it again just so everybody is on board. When you hear the word unmute in your ear, start talking, state your business. We can all hear you just fine. You're just unable to hear me reply back to you in the phone. All right, we good with that? So I'm going to wait about 10 seconds, and then I'm going to bring in 973.
What's going on, Sim? How you doing? Yeah, I can't hear you through the phone, so I'm just giving my spill. Deontay Johnson, man, I think his arrow is definitely pointing up, man. I like what I'm seeing out of him. Just imagine if Ben was throwing him the ball. Also, I gotta give a shout out to that trade, that first round pick for Minka Fitzpatrick, man. That boy is star, man. Any tip ball or anything coming his area, he catching that thing. And he got a nerve to be from New Jersey, too, my state. So I'm definitely feeling him. And, yeah, we got to get started off a little bit quicker, man. Mason got to heat up a little bit quicker than he been heating up, man. And our defense playing better, but hopefully our offense could catch up a little bit. You know, and maybe we could get to 500. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at playoffs yet, but we'll off another 3 games and maybe we got a shot. All right, Sam, tell me what you think about it.
Man, 973, appreciate your call, guys. And you guys heard how that went down, right? See how seamless that was? So, again, for whatever reason, Blog Talk Radio decides when they want the cue to work. So, use 973 as an example. Basically, all he did is when I unmuted him, he heard unmute. He just started talking. And as you guys can tell, we all hear it in the stream. They're just unable to hear me communicate back. All right, so I'm going to keep saying that because, in case some of you guys are newer to calling, you can understand, what you have to do. So for tonight, we all saw it worked last night, but tonight it wants to act crazy. So again, 830, we're going to come to you next. When you hear unmute, just start talking, just like 973 did. But also, just to comment on what my man just said, man, yeah. Wow. He just threw one on me when he said, imagine if Ben was throwing Deontay Johnson the ball. And see, I think it would be even more special. Because, again, just imagine how Ben Roethlisberger used to treat Antonio Brown, which is what Deontay Johnson is doing for this offense. He's playing that role. I think Ben sees him a lot sooner, and some of the quick routes and, the quick out, just like Duck Hodges did when he came in the game a couple weeks ago, that deep out route that he threw the timing route. I think that's where Deontay Johnson is going to eat. He had one last night that he slipped on, and Mason Rudolph still kind of threw it. He threw it to the inside instead of the outside. So I think that's where Deontay Johnson is going to be golden, is with those timing routes. And yeah, if Ben Roethlisberger was throwing him the ball, who knows, man? This dude could be even better than what we've seen so far. So there you have it. And Minka Fitzpatrick, absolutely. I think we beat that dead horse, but listen, man. Safeties, that's where we're going to have to go anyway. We got our first round pick. We got our safety a year early. I'm cool with it. All right, 830, here we are coming to you. When you hear unmute, start talking. I'm going to wait 10 seconds to compensate the delay, and I'm about to come right to you.
Hey, Sam, first-time caller. I was at the game last night and got to see it firsthand. That first pass from Mason Rudolph was horrible, but after that first half, it wasn't that bad. Now, he was like maybe a second late, but he was finding the right guy, finding the right place to throw the ball. It just was really late. It was very rusty. After that second half, he got on fire. Kind of looked like from where I was sitting at. But like I said, that first half was pretty bad. But a lot, I think, had to do with the rust, the fact that he hadn't played since the Ravens game, and God knows how much he remembers of that game. I think that going forward, it's going to be a lot better. I'll let you guys go and hear your thoughts.
830, man. First and foremost, I definitely thank you for calling, man. And I'm really upset that the phone queue is not working appropriately, man. I like to always speak to new callers. I think what I'm going to start doing when you guys are new is just asking, where you're calling from. let's try to add a little more flair to the show, man, and get some more call and response from you guys. So definitely appreciate that, man. I hope I do enough to keep you around and earn a new subscriber. And that's what I like to hear. I like to hear the perspective from being at the game, because that's what I'm waiting to see from the All-22. I definitely felt like from the TV view, Rudolph was a little bit late on some of those throws, but that's the kind of stuff that we'll be able to see with the footage. Was when a guy was open, if it was a timing route, was Rudolph waiting too long to throw the out or what have you. Those are the type of things I want to see. And he's still, he's still a young quarterback. I can't look past that. Let's see what this guy's going to be. This is all we have right now anyway, so I'm going to just get behind him. Whether you guys think he's the future or not, whether I think he's the future or not, doesn't really matter to me at this point. I just want to see if he can be the best he can be, and if he turns out to be a great quarterback, great. If not, though well. Process starts over. But thank you for your call, man. All right, next up, area code 803, and we're all familiar with 803. He probably knows this routine, but we're going to say it anyway. As soon as you hear that unmute 803, just start talking. We can all hear you. Unfortunately, you're just unable to hear me talk back, but you know the routine. So I'm going to wait 10 seconds to compensate for the lag, and I'm going to bring you on.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to give kudos, big shout out to Roosevelt Nix and the offensive line on terrific pass blocking and run blocking last night. It was great to see that. Now, as far as the wide receivers go, I was a little bit, we're not getting the separation. They just don't, other than Deontay Johnson, they're not getting a lot of separation. The question is, what can we do to get James Washington on track? I mean, it just seemed like forever we've been waiting on this big game. And you're talking about maybe spending another draft pick on another wide receiver. I know the death of Darryl Drake has probably hurt him a little bit. But those are the things I'm talking about. If we can get the wide receiver core a little bit, going a little bit better, because, you're talking about getting rid of Dante Moncrief, but then we don't have any great depth at wide receiver anyway. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, 803, man. Caller each and every show, man. I definitely value you guys, value your opinion. Just to answer a few questions that he threw out there, or make a few comments. Yes, Roosevelt Nix, man, clearly his presence was felt. Good to have him back in the run game and special teams. Wide receiver separation, I don't know. I'm not ready to say that tonight about last night. I'm really going to study this footage. I can't promise you guys this, because I told you guys last night that my best friend is having his, him and his wife having their first child. Thought I would have to go tonight, but no more progress. She's just in the hospital going through that process now. So we're probably going to go down and see them tomorrow. But if maybe not tomorrow, maybe Thursday, I want to at least come back and do a little mini show and break down some footage. I don't know, man. I don't know if the separation was an issue last night. I don't know if it was. We're going to take a closer look at that. And as far as James Washington, I want to focus in on him. I'm making some notes here. James Washington had some opportunities last night. One of which, when the ball could have been intercepted. Remember when it popped up and the guy stepped out of bounds? Did hit him in his hands. Tough catch, but it's a catchable ball. But then there were other times You know, remember that? I think it was a third down when Rudolph threw it like 20-something yards and it was behind him. He caught it, got the first down. That was a big moment for James Washington. We were backed up, you know, and backed up in our own red zone. As well as there was other opportunities. I specifically remember a play, I want to say it was a 4th down, 4th and 6, I believe. We went for it. James Washington has plenty of separation. You know, not plenty, but I'm talking about NFL separation. Going across the middle and Rudolph misses him. A lot of those balls that was thrown last night were behind the receivers. So that's why I'm saying, just honing in on last night, I don't know. I don't know if I feel the same way off of last night. Now, throughout the season so far, maybe. But let's pay closer attention to last night's game. We're going to find a way, man, where I can at least bring you guys a few plays and discuss that. But appreciate the call. Let's keep it rolling. 814, I'm sure you know the drill by now. You already, you know, came in the chat and you told me what happened. So, yeah. I'm going to wait about 10 seconds. Then I'm going to bring you through. You guys says behind and low. Oh, okay. Vista Light is talking about Rudolph's throw. Yeah, man, he was a little off. So, we'll see. But 814, here we come, man. I'll wait 10 seconds to compensate for the delay time in the stream. And I'm going to bring you right on.
Hey man, how you doing? I was happy about the game last night. I think that our receivers, I think we can use them in the run game as well on like a wildcat attempt of a play. I mean, I don't think that Tomlin has done that a lot. I think on defense, I think that Hayden got burned a little bit early. But I love having a ball hawk that's back there and Minka. I think that on special teams that, I mean, we're still weak in the return game, but I like how Boswell has been able to bounce back this year. I mean, I was kind of sketchy on the long attempt, the one that Boswell missed. Could have attempted it on a 4th down there. Overall, though, I was happy with the game. I think we're still in it. It's going to come down to whether or not. Basically, the Steelers have got to beat the teams in their division. That's just the facts right there. Thanks, man. Steeler Nation.
Thank you, man. I appreciate your call, 814. And let me give a shout out to all of you guys so far tonight, man. And I'm sure the next caller will be able to do the same. You guys are phenomenal, you know, adjusting to the phone queue. Sometimes it works. Again, blog talk radio, I'm having to fight with them. But you guys are phenomenal being able to adjust, just, you know, listening for that unmute and talking so it doesn't kill the show, if you know what I mean. You know, you guys are great with that. So I appreciate you guys being on point with that. And just to, you know, hammer in on a few of your points, man. You know, the main thing that you talked about that I will address, yeah, special teams. The return game is just not it, man. And I don't know if it's the blocking scheme. I don't know if it's all Switzer. I think it's a good portion of Switzer. You look around the league. Let me throw a name at you guys. Deontay Spencer. Remember him? That's now with the Broncos. I watch a few of their games and I see him make things happen, or at least try to make something happen when there is no blocking. So it's a combination of both, because think about some of the best return people you've ever seen do it. And I'm not talking about the elite guys, but just you got to have a knack for it. And I thought Switzer had that knack, but I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any explosiveness. I haven't seen a play yet from him when I was like, ooh, he almost broke that. We're not even getting the almost moments. You know, the moment like when the guy trips up and they be like, ah, you know how they react like I had it. We don't get none of those from Switzer. And it is what it is. And speaking of Deontay Spencer, man, I never would have imagined this. I said this a few shows ago, but for some of you guys who are first-time listeners, the funniest thing about Switzer, right? I was the main one saying, well, they're probably going to keep him, you know, because he can be utilized on offense as well as special teams. He's safe on special teams. He doesn't really fumble. And that's important, right? And I said that Deontay Spencer would probably be just a return guy. And I'm not sure that the Steelers are going to keep just a return guy because they want to utilize these guys on offense. As it has turned out, Ryan Switzer is being used just as a return guy. In that case, we could have kept Deontay Spencer. I mean, like they say, hindsight is 20/20, right? But it's just crazy to see how that has unfolded. What do you know? We missed one. All right, next up, area code 912. Again, sorry for the inconvenience. It's not my fault, but we're going to make the best of it. You're unable to hear me on the phone, but you can hear me through the stream. So you're going to hear me say, I'm about to come to you. When I unmute you, you will hear the words unmute in your ear. Just start talking, and I can hear you, and the stream can hear you. All right, so 912, we're about to come to you. We're going to allow about 10 seconds to compensate for the delay, and then state your business.
Unpopular opinion. How you doing, Sim? Unpopular opinion, but I'm a big fan. I like Bud, not Dud Dupree. I like Bud Dupree. I don't want to see him play for any other team besides Pittsburgh. I think he should get a new contract with Pittsburgh. The plays he make, they low key, but he make those splash plays when needed. You know what I'm saying? Well, how do you feel about him right now at this point of the season? Would you re-sign him if it's up to you, or drop him? That's all I got for you, man.
Oh man, 912, man. That's you dropping some controversy here, and I'm definitely gonna answer that, man. And I'm gonna ramble for about 10 seconds here to make sure you're still able to hear the stream before I start giving you your response. Excuse me. Let me just say before I answer that question, my good buddy, my Aries brethren, he's not gonna like my answer here. But let me just say this. I share Kenyon's feelings towards Mr. Dupree in terms of pass rushing ability. Kenyon will no longer call him by his name. He calls him 48. And I play the game. I say, all right, when he's pass rushing, he's 48. When he's stopping the run, he's Bud. So here's the funny thing about it. What would I do at this moment, at this juncture? It's like I said last night in the post-game show, man. If you really look at the situation in terms of depth, how the Steelers normally do business, and I know that's kind of like an like a not necessarily a true statement anymore, because a lot of the normal way they do business stuff went out the window in this past season. From Minka, from trading up to get Bush. But some of the Steelers' principles, they've been doing it so long, we kind of have to still lean on some of those things based off of the way they do business. As thin as it seems like they're going to be at outside linebacker, you better believe they're going to want to keep another guy in there that's familiar with the system. And I have to say this, and again, my brother Kenyon about to laugh, man, and he probably going to text me with the the mean face. At this moment, man, Bud is not playing that bad. Exclude pass rusher, right? And I know, folks. I know that's a crazy thing to say. His job is to be a pass rusher, but what I'm saying is, exclude his lack of being an elite pass rusher for just a moment. We got our dog on the other side in TJ Watt. TJ Watt is the guy, okay? He's the one getting double teams. He's the one that also is making 48 look better in pass rush because 48 is getting more one-on-one opportunities. He's able to beat guys with his speed. He's getting more pressures. Whether some of you guys believe that or not, if you look at if you actually watch the game, and even if you look on, like Pro Football Focus or whatever your favorite site is, he's actually getting more pressures. Sack numbers might not be as high, but really all you want off an elite pass, well, I'm not going to say that. You want sacks from an elite guy. But what you really are looking for with your team is you're looking for a healthy pass rush. That just means that your guys are getting pressure more than not. He's actually doing it. And would I prefer to move on from him and to get another talent in? Sure. But I don't see it, man. With the Anthony Chickalo situation, clearly he's gone. Ola, which we're going to see a lot of for the rest of the season, didn't look too hot last night. I got to keep a closer eye on him to see if he's getting pressure. Who else is there? They're not going to be able to acquire 3 more pass rushers. We want to at least have a rotation, right? We want to at least have more than at least 3. At the very worst, they want to have 3 guys that they're rotating. Their preference is to have 4 guys. They kept 5 this year. Remember that. That shows you how lackluster the depth was when they kept 5. So what do? You try to finesse the guy, you know what I mean, who's familiar. So again, I will say it. I don't be surprised if he's back with the Pittsburgh Steelers again. And if he is, kudos to him because it worked in his favor. He got paid $9.5, which he's getting right now on the 5th-year option, and then you turn around and sign again. So you got an extra $9 million. In theory, because the Steelers usually try to extend you, you know, so they don't, you know what I mean? So if it works out that way, kudos to him, man, for, you know, getting paid. But I honestly can't say at this moment that I'm down on him this season. I can't say that. He's not the elite guy. He's a one-trick pony. Every now and then Kenyon, and Kenyon knows this, but like I said last night, how me and Kenyon both feel is kind of like a day late and a dollar short. You know, you're showing it too late. Could you have not been this guy for the last 4 years? But now he's even showing every now and then a little hand fighting. But it's kind of like, man, we like, where this been at all these years? That's why we're kind of still down on him, because we feel like with that dude's intangibles, his size, his speed, and his athleticism, he should be TJ Watt. And imagine if he was that and we draft Watt. Boy, how nasty would they be? But yeah, that's kind of how I feel, man. I might would because of depth reasons, and he's actually not playing that bad this year. And he plays very well against the run. Pay attention, guys. Sets the edge. The dude plays very well against the run, and that's part of the battle. Think about it. That was one of the things that hardcore Steelers fans definitely understood about James Harrison. Yeah, he was a mean pass rusher, but James Harrison could set an edge. And that's half of the battle right there. So that's my long-winded answer, man. And I know Kenyon giving me all kinds of, you know what, my phone been going. Look at hold on, let me see if I can show y'all this, man. Look at Kenyon, man. Let me hold on. Let me show y'all what Kenyon put on my phone. Hold on, man. Oh, I can't blow it up. Hold on. Yeah, I can. Hold on, give me a second. Nah, it won't let me save it. But anyway, can y'all see that? It's probably not going to focus in. Hold on. Nah, y'all can't see it. The light is reflected. But he basically put a whole bunch of the cussing emoji, the purple devil, the red devil. Kenyon hot, man. But no, I feel him, though. That's what I'm saying. I feel what he is saying from a pass rush standpoint. I absolutely understand his pain. I think I explained it good last night, man. It's day late and a dollar short, man. But anyway, 870 coming to you, man. And we'll probably make this the last call of tonight. So 870, when you hear unmute, just start talking. Just like the rest of the guys, we can hear you, but just unfortunately, you're unable to hear me talk back. But we can definitely hear you. So I'm going to allow 10 seconds here to compensate for the lag time and come right on in.
Yeah, man, this is Tresma Jones down here in Arkansas. I was just saying, man, good game, man, and I like how everything's starting to play out, man. I just hope I ain't heard nobody talk about it. I came in kind of late, but man, what y'all think about that Patriots and Ravens game? Do you think Belichick will throw it? Do you think he sees them as a threat? Tell me what y'all think about this. Steelers Nation, here we go.
Man, appreciate you calling, my brother, man. I'm not sure. You may have before, but I'm not sure you've called before, man. I've definitely seen you in the chat. But if you haven't, thank you for the first time calling. If you have, my bad for forgetting. But I definitely recognize your name and all. Appreciate you coming through. Man, that's a good question. You know what? See, this is why I love you guys, man. And this is why, like I said, we like a family here. When I forget stuff, something, you guys remind me of stuff. I wanted to talk about that last night with Kenyon and Tony, and I slipped my mind. I can't wait, man. And I was going to text Tony and Kenyon this yesterday, but I don't like to jinx myself and talk about another game or another team, when we playing. But hold on, give me a second, man. Let me get a sip of water. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I can't wait till next Sunday night. I'm looking forward to that game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to see a couple things. It's gonna sound crazy by me saying this because I think they've already shown us this. But just for sake of argument, I want to see if the Patriots defense is for real across the board. What I mean by that is if they're able to defend the running game from the Ravens, having to pay attention to Lamar Jackson and the running backs, obviously they can defend the pass game because the Patriots defense right now is playing outstanding. They're the number one defense in the league. They're taking the ball away. They're scoring. Dog, honestly, even as a Steelers fan, it looks like they're going to get number 7 this year. I'm going to be real with y'all. They looking like the team that will claim the 7th trophy and leave us behind with 6. That's how they're looking. Whether they're going to do it or not, I don't know. I think there's some teams that might be able to get in their way. If you look down at the Bayou at what Breeze and them boys are doing and what they was able to do without Breeze, formidable opponent, right? Kansas City, don't know. Mahomes will probably come back eventually, but I don't trust their defense, especially not against Tom Brady. The defense doesn't seem to be as, even the way it was last year. Could be better. I don't know. They're still kind of shaky. And you know what? Kansas City kind of reminds me of us up until this year. You know how our defense has kind of been right around the same as far as in big game situations for the last 2 years? That's how I feel about Kansas City. I don't think they've changed much. I think if they get into a shootout, their defense might not make the stop when needed. However, they should have won last year. Had Ford not jumped off sides, the game is over. Remember they got their pick off? A pre-snap penalty cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. So you never know. Stranger things has happened, but that Patriot defense, I don't recall seeing the Patriot defense look like this one. That scares me. And then on the flip side, man, I want to see, are the Ravens for real? If the Ravens can bottleneck Tom Brady and them and go 6-2 with that type of confidence, hey, you see what I'm saying? And we played them close. We had an opportunity to beat the Ravens. We all know what happened, but, it wasn't like they outplayed us. We were in that game. But I'm very excited, man. I'm very excited to watch that game. I'm a football fan, man, so I just want to see how the chess match goes. I want to see how Belichick and the boys approach it. And like I said, I want to see if that defense is for real across the board. We know how good they've been against the pass and all of that, but they haven't faced the Lamar Jackson type. So if they shut that down too, hey, they're on their way to the next title. But all right, man, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up, man. I appreciate everyone who called in tonight. We'll spend the last few minutes or so here just reading some of the chats. 3 or 4 minutes here. You guys throw them at me, man. Any questions, comments you have, I will approach them. Real Fact says, that boy Lamar, man, is the truth. I can't lie. Yeah, man. He is, man. And the funny thing about Lamar Jackson, he reminds me of not completely the way he run, because the run style still is a little different. But that first step, like that first burst of acceleration, it's eerily similar to when Vic was in the league, man. And some of you guys who've seen Vic from day one know what I'm talking about. I still think Vic was a little more potent, because Vic in open field was just, I mean, his speed, I still think he looked faster in motion. But Lamar Jackson got that same burst, like that first step, how he gets out of the line, past the line of scrimmage, he's out of there. Very slick, man. And that speed. Oh man. Yeah, he's special. He's special. Let me see what you guys got, man. Why Diggy says, I think the receivers are getting separation by NFL standards. Mason needs to be more accurate with the ball placement. You know what, Why Diggy? I tend to agree with that, and I'm going to be paying attention to that when I look at the footage. Yeah, I think so too, but there were opportunities last night, man, where it seemed like our guys were getting separation. Rudolph threw it behind him, or he didn't, get it out in front. Even on certain plays where Juju, sat down in the spot, Rudolph throws it to the inside instead of throwing it away from coverage. So I definitely agree with that, but I'm going to comb through this footage with a fine-tooth comb, man, because we got so much in that game. We got bad Rudolph early and decent Rudolph later. So I should have a lot to show you guys. Denny Shaw says, what about keeping Juju in the slot? Seems like he makes plays from there. Well, yeah, Denny. Dennis, not sure if you're new to the channel. If you are, definitely appreciate you tuning in. But yeah, that's something that I harp on all the time. I'm always saying that's where Juju eats. Juju to me is the matchup nightmare in the slot, and that's where he's always been extremely productive, is in that slot. Even when AB was there, Juju kills in the slot. And that's why I love him at. But he can play outside too. He can play the Z as well, but keep him in the slot as much as possible. Yeah, I think Kenyon hit it on the head too. He's not as dynamic as Vic was when Vic first came in, but definitely reminds me of that, man, with that burst, that first initial burst. And I'm just talking about when he gets past the line of scrimmage and he's like 5 yards down the field before you even blink. Reminds me of what Michael Vick was. Big Marv says, sorry, Sim, I missed the show. Just got home off work. I'll look at it again, see what I missed. Man, no worries, man. It's don't ever feel like you guys have to be on the live show, man. I really appreciate that type of, commitment. I'm humbled by that, but man, yeah, it replays. And if you miss it, don't worry. We'll have another one coming next week. It's all good. Dwayne Duncantel, he says Juju is 0.84 separation and had 105 yards. I think that's a number one in my book. Hey, Dwayne, listen. I don't know. All we do is just argue that point with folks. And that's why I always say, what is it that you're looking out of? What are you looking to get out of a number one that discredits Juju? That's all I'm saying. And, like I said, I give my opinion. I respect everybody else's. I think Juju is definitely a number one receiver. He's capable of playing even better than he's played. And I think this year is hard for us to judge that based off of the quarterbacks who have been throwing him the ball up until this point. I think it's hard to say whether or not, I think it's really hard at this point to say that he is definitely not one until we see, let's see a little more time of him being the man. You know what I mean? Before we make that determination. But I think he is. I think he has the skill set, the mindset, the tenacity, and everything that it takes. Like I said last night, the same way Hines Ward was the number one receiver at one point, without the flashy speed and all of that, I think Juju is more than capable of being a Hines Ward type guy. He's shown us that several times, and he's faster and bigger. So that's my argument right there. The Joker says, Sim, don't you think Connor's run style doesn't fit his durability? Very good point, Joker. And by the way, I gotta, his name just reminded me. If you guys haven't seen Joker yet, What you waiting on, man? Phenomenal show. I said show. Phenomenal movie. Joaquin Phoenix, wow, did his thing. So go check that out if you're into that type of thing. But just keep in mind, this is not Batman. Because I've seen a lot of people, trying to judge it like that. I'm like, what made you think it was a Batman story? They said it's Joker. It's about the Joker. It tells you about who he is and how he became who he is. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil anything. But go check it out. But yes, man, Connor kind of reminds me, and see if y'all agree with me with this, not necessarily the same ground and pound type of guy, but you remember Marion Barber? Connor kind of runs with that type of demeanor. And I compare those guys because Barber also was the type of dude that I was like, he's not going to be around for too long. His style, the way he runs, he's not going to be able to take that punishment for long. And he probably was a little more durable than Connor, but that's what it reminds me of when I watch Connor run. I'm like, man, he just goes hard all the time. And Barber had a shortened career, whereas a guy like Marshawn Lynch run style was unlike many people I have ever seen. Like, that dude ran angry. He took it personal every time, but he was durable for the most part. He had his little injuries here and there, but he didn't get nicked up as much as Connor does. So, perfect to what Joker said, Connor's style is kind of in that line of Marion Barber and a Marshawn Lynch type, but his body doesn't be able to seem to keep up at all times. So, it happens, man. Some players are just like that. Michael Garman says, Mason will be okay. It's his first season starting. He's basically a rookie learning. Give him time to look at the first year quarterbacks this year. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I just, y'all have probably figured out the theme. My theme is it's a little too early to make some of these judgments about some of these players. It's just my opinion. Kegels Bagel says, if you could bring 3 former Steelers back to the current team, who would you pick? Oh, man, I can't even, that's a tough one right there. That's a tough one. It's so many, I'm not even going to try to do that here. I would have to think, I would have to think for, and really put some thought into why I would bring one person back. This person for that, this person for that, this person for that. One person I could say right off the bat, just because we have Minkah Fitzpatrick now, Lord have mercy. Could you imagine him and Troy Polamalu? Could you imagine having that tandem? Minkah playing free and allowing Troy to play his natural position of strong safety, even though he was so cerebral, even though you hear the stories about him telling Ryan Clark, no, you play up, I'm going to play back this time. Could you imagine what we're seeing out of Minkah playing alongside Troy Polamalu? Have mercy. That's one guy that I can say, just looking at how our team is constructed, because you got to think that too. So I'm not just going to throw names out just because, I would like to have Joe Green. No. I'm looking at it from a more realistic standpoint based on how the team is currently constructed. Who would I plug in? Troy Polamalu, absolutely. Opposite Minkah Fitzpatrick. That would be nuts. Real Fact says, fans have Mahomes syndrome when it comes to judging young quarterbacks. If they ain't throwing for 300 yards and 3 tubs every game, they are busted. Right. Pretty much. Why Diggy just said a nice one too. Yeah. See, there you go, Diggy. See, you thinking like me. On this current team, I'll take Heath Miller now. Heath Miller and Vance McDonald? Woo. Yeah. Yeah. And once again, think about how, and again, guys, some of us are nutty football. Like we just know too much as far as personnel and all that. So that's how I think. And I know guys like Kenya will understand what I'm about to say here. Vance and Heath, and the Steelers like sometimes to come out in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends and run the ball from that set with Vance and Heath blocking. Okay. And being able to run some play action off of that, because remember, And Kenyon remembers this when I texted him and Tony last night before the game. I was like, man, with Vance playing and, and Vanette out there, I wonder if we'll run a little more 12 personnel and work some play action off of that. That's deadly. Think about how New England used to run Gronk and Hernandez. And Hernandez was, a finesse guy. But imagine if we had Heath Miller and Vance McDonald. Oh, my goodness. But all right, man. Let me go ahead and get out of here, man. I'm gone over my time. I didn't expect it to be an hour tonight, but I say that every time, and it always is, because the Steelers is always something to talk about, and you guys are such a phenomenal, give phenomenal viewership. You always fuel the hour, so I appreciate you guys for that. So like I said, man, I'm going to try to carve out some time. I don't know if it will be tomorrow. Maybe not. And now I'm thinking about it. Thursday is Halloween, and of course I got to take the little man out to get his candy and whatnot. So maybe we'll hold it for the weekend some point. Or maybe I'll do a pre-recorded video. I don't know. But I want to at least try to go over some of the plays from this game so we can see where there was separation issues and where there may have been, issues with Mason Rudolph finding the receivers. And the last thing I will end with this. Why in the world did the Colts, excuse me. Well, I hope the Colts do this, but why in the world did the Dolphins, I got to say it again, and I said it last night, 3rd and 20. You've been shutting the Steelers down all night with man coverage for the most part. On 3rd and 20, you go 0, all out blitz. What were they thinking? Do y'all know how we would have felt about Keith Butler if that would have happened to us? We would be losing it right now. Why in the world did they do that? Just ponder on that for a moment. I mean, Deontay Johnson was butt naked open. I don't get it. I don't get that. And as a 0-16, if I'm the GM or whatever, I'm firing whoever made that decision. Like, come on, bro. That is pure stupid. But anyway, I'm out of here, man. Holla at you guys later. What's up, Debbie? I didn't say hi to Debbie tonight. And what's up to everybody else? But don't forget, man, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. What's the use of watching and not subscribing? Huh? And if you are subscribed, make sure you cut on your notifications, ring that bell so you know when videos are live. Last but not least, please hit the like button. You guys have no idea how much it helps me out tremendously. Hit the like button, and even take it a step further if you can. If you're on social media, share it. Share it on Twitter or point people into my direction. Please. Yes, I'm asking you to do that. Share it with your other Steeler fans, Steeler friends, whatever you got. And there you have it. And of course, if you guys would like to donate to the cause, you can do so 3 separate ways. If you want to do it in YouTube, click the $ in the chat. That'll only be available for about another 30 seconds, but there it is. If you want to do that, I'd be happy about it. Thank you very much. As well as, if you prefer to do so outside of YouTube, if Cash App is your thing, if PayPal is your thing, I got you covered. Check the link in the description. There's that information. And thank you again to those folks who continue to donate through PayPal and Cash App. I'm going to start writing names down so I can give you your proper credit. But thank you guys for that. But outside of that, love you guys. Have a great night. Be safe. God bless. And I'll catch you guys next time. And thank you for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. Peace.